Hello everybody and welcome to part 10 of every card in Yu-Gi-Oh! Master Duel, the series where I am currently explaining my way through the Dark Magician archetype. Today I'll be talking through 8 spell cards and 2 trap cards. Let's get into it. Firstly, Dark Burning Attack is a normal spell card and its effect is, if you control a Dark Magician Girl monster, destroy all face-up monsters your opponent controls. This is one of 4 cards that can be set by the effect of Bond between teacher and student, which I spoke about in the last video, and where Dark Magician can wipe the opponent's back row with Dark Magic Attack, Dark Magician Girl can wipe the monster zones with this card. Unlike Dark Magic Attack though, this can't be added to hand so easily by the likes of Eternal Soul, and here in my mind is an opportunity for some future Dark Magician Girl support. Maybe a Dark Magician Girl equivalent of Eternal Soul, which can special summon her once per turn, or add this card to hand. Either way, for now this isn't so widely seen, except in niche Dark Magician Girl decks. At this point, it's probably worth mentioning that as beloved as Dark Magician Girl is, and as much support as she has, a lot of the most powerful Dark Magician decks don't actually run Dark Magician Girl. But these cards are not about winning, right? Next up is the quick play spell card Dark Burning Magic, which reads, if you control monsters whose original names are Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl, destroy all cards your opponent controls. And this is certainly the most powerful board wipe spell in the archetype, with the effect to destroy all cards your opponent controls being pretty rare in Yu-Gi-Oh! Albeit the fact that you need Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl on the field to resolve this card does make it a more outside choice. It's the kind of card that feels like a huge flex when you do pull it off. I feel the same about the effect of Quintet Magician when it's summoned with 5 different spellcaster monsters. Those are often my favourite kinds of effects. Difficult to pull off but rewarding if you do, and there is certainly more like this to come. The next card is another quick play spell called Illusion Magic. Its effect is, tribute 1 spellcaster monster, add up to 2 copies of Dark Magician from your deck and or graveyard to your hand. You can only activate 1 Illusion Magic per turn. When this card was first released in the OCG, it did something that was really useful by adding Dark Magician to hand. In the decade or so since, and in Master Duel, there have now been released plenty of other cards that do this in more efficient ways. The game tends to speed up over time, and this card's main drawback is the cost of needing to tribute a spellcaster monster. The monster would only be able to be tributed from the field like this too, so this would be a dead card at any point in the game before you summon the monster. For these reasons, this card remains a quiet underperformer in Yu-Gi-Oh's history. Fourthly, we've got Dark Magic Expanded, which is a quick play spell, and it reads, apply these effects in sequence based on the number of Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girl on the field and in the graveyards. 1+, 1 Dark Spellcaster monster on the field gains 1000 attack until the end of this turn. 2+, this turn your opponent cannot activate cards and effects in response to your spell trap card or effect activations. Also, spells traps you control cannot be destroyed by your opponent's card effects. 3+, Dark Spellcaster monsters you currently control are unaffected by your opponent's card effects until the end of this turn. Okay, so boosting your monster's attack points and protecting your cards is all good, but nothing about this card really helps you actually push for game. Being a quick play, it can be activated straight from hand in reaction to an opponent's card, but it's still only really a defensive option. Of course, defensive cards can still be important as occasional one-offs, especially as side deck cards in the TCG, but as I've mentioned before, Master Duel doesn't have side decks, which makes this irrelevant here. If you're particularly new to Master Duel and are therefore limited to just low rarity cards like this, maybe consider something like Forbidden Chalice instead. It's also an R rarity quick play spell and can negate an opponent's monster for the turn, something likely to help you out far more than any of these effects. If you aren't interested in winning, however, feel free to continue with this card. The next quick play spell is Dark Magic Inheritance, which has the following effect. Banish 2 spells from your graveyard, add 1 spell trap from your deck to your hand that specifically lists the card Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except Dark Magic Inheritance. You can only activate 1 Dark Magic Inheritance per turn. I don't have a particularly high opinion of this card, and I doubt I'm alone in that because the cost involved makes this useless at the start of a duel. It's not necessarily difficult to get 2 spells into the grave, but if you're running a deck that aims to resolve 2 spells before even searching out a Dark Magician card, then I'm not really sure what you're doing. Whilst I wouldn't recommend running this one, there are some really good cards that can be searched out by its effect, including the next card. Soul Servant is a quick play spell card which reads, place 1 card on top of the deck from your hand, deck or graveyard that is Dark Magician or specifically lists Dark Magician or Dark Magician Girl in its text, except Soul Servant. During your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard. Draw cards equal to the number of Palladium monsters, Dark Magician and or Dark Magician Girl with different names on the field and in the graveyards. You can only use this effect of Soul Servant once per turn. This card is a reference to the Pharaoh's ability to always top deck the card he needs. Jokes aside though, it's probably worth recapping the monsters which count as Palladium Dark Magician and Dark Magician Girl monsters because it can be a bit confusing. Obviously, you can draw a card if Dark Magician is on the field or in the graveyard, and a second card for Dark Magician Girl. Whilst there are other monsters which are treated as Dark Magician, they are not counted due to the fact they're treated as another copy of the original original Dark Magician, and the fact that Soul Servant specifically lists Dark Magician and not Dark Magician monsters, cards like Dark Magician the Magician of Black Chaos aren't counted either. If Palladium Oracle Mahad is on the field or in the graveyard, a third card can be drawn, and that is, to date, the most cards that this effect can draw in Master Duel. There is another Palladium monster in the TCG, Mana, and where Mahad is like a light attribute alter ego of the Dark Magician, Mana is the same to the Dark Magician girl, and while she was actually printed before the existence of Master Duel, she hasn't, at the time of this video, been imported into the game. Back to Soul Servant though, drawing 3 cards is extremely good, but this card performs best when its 2 effects are able to work together. For instance, using it in combination with Dark Magical Circle to choose a card to add to hand, or if you already have a Dark Magician or Dark Magician girl on the field or in the grave, you can place Mahad on top of the deck and immediately draw for an easy special summon. I talked about these effects more in the previous video, but the bottom line is that this is a must play in the Dark Magician archetype. Next is yet another quick play spell, Secrets of Dark Magic, and it reads, activate one of the following effects. Fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck using monsters from your hand or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician girl, as fusion material. Ritual summon one ritual monster from your hand by tributing monsters from your hand or field, including Dark Magician or Dark Magician girl, whose total levels equal or exceed the level of the ritual monster. This card is super powerful, making cards like Chaos Form and Polymerization a thing of the past for many Dark Magician decks. And as a quick play, it outperforms the Eye of Timaeus, which is the other go-to for getting into the various fusion monsters of the archetype. This card surprisingly makes Dark Magician a very competent going second deck in Master Duel, as you can enter the battle phase with one board of monsters, attack, fuse, use the trigger effect of your fusion summon, and attack again. There's a lot of benefits to being able to do all of these things outside of the main phase, which can generate a lot of advantage. This card is an absolute steal at a normal rarity, and has recently been added to Master Duel as an ultra rare in an alternate artwork. And 8th up for today is another card which has just been added to Master Duel, having been released in the OCG in 2025. Gaze of Timaeus is a quick play spell, and it reads, target one Dark Magician or Dark Magician girl you control or in your graveyard, fusion summon one fusion monster from your extra deck that mentions it as material by shuffling that monster into the deck, but banish it during the end phase of the next turn. This is treated as a special summon with the Eye of Timaeus. You can only activate one The Gaze of Timaeus per turn, so this is kind of like a Dark Magician girl equivalent of the Eye of Timaeus, the same way that Dark Burning Attack is like a counterpart to Dark Magic Attack. Yeah, that's a good parallel. There are some differences though. This card shuffles the fusion materials into the deck and can use materials from the graveyard. This card is slightly balanced by including the effect to banish the monster during the following end phase, but overall, the fact it's a quick play spell gives it a lot of competitive potential. The next card is Miracle Restoring, and it is a normal trap card which reads, remove 2 spell counters from your side of the field, then target one Dark Magician or Buster Blader in your graveyard, special summon that target. Another card that mentions spell counters, which sometimes work very simply, like in this case, and sometimes they don't. They've been a notably flimsy mechanic in the game for decades, so I'd advise against indulging in this card, which, in summoning Dark Magician from the grave, does something that dozens of other cards can do more easily. Of course, this card was originally printed in the OCG in 2002, so there's no expectation for it to be up to pace with the modern game. This is our first mention of Buster Blader too, who is the centre of a whole story of his own, and it's an example of one archetype crossing over into another. It shows the interconnectedness of the whole Yu-Gi-Oh universe, as Buster Blader ends up being a character in an entire saga involving a bunch of other archetypes, all of which I'll hopefully cover eventually. Whatever deck you're playing, I'd advise avoiding this card like the plague. Finally for today, Magician Navigation is a normal trap card, and its effect is special summon one Dark Magician from your hand, then special summon one level 7 or lower Dark Spellcaster monster from your deck. If you control Dark Magician, except the turn this card was sent to the graveyard, you can banish this card from your graveyard, then target one face-up spell trap your opponent controls, negate its effects until the end of this turn. This card isn't bad, and it's certainly given more utility by the fact it can summon any Dark level 7 or lower spellcaster monster from deck rather than just a Dark Magician monster. Its graveyard effect is very rarely going to come up, however, and the fact that it is a trap card just makes it a bit too slow to be considered a great card. Honestly, if you want to run a battle trap of this rarity, maybe try Magical Cylinder. It's not a Dark Magician card in the real game, but it does have the flair of being paired with the Dark Magicians in the anime and manga, or you could always just go for the classic Mirror Force. And now, as always, some bonus content for those of you that have made it through the video. Let's look at the past week in the Dark Magician archetype on Master Duel, where an update to the secret pack Darkest Magics was added, featuring 2 new fusion monsters, yet to even be released in the OCG, Dark Magician of Destruction and Timaeus the United Magical Dragon, which looks kind of like a combination of Dark Magician Girl the Dragon Knight and Amulet Dragon to me. I'll look at both of these in more detail in my next video. We've also got a third artwork for the Dark Magician, an alt art for Dark Magical Circle, and as I mentioned earlier, an alt art for Secrets of Dark Magic. The Timaeus card I just covered is of course also one of the new support cards. Other than that, there is a 4th anniversary bundle featuring some Dark Magician aesthetics, a guaranteed ultra rare, and 10 Darkest Magics packs. And that is everything for this video. I'll be back next time with the last of the trap cards and the first handful of fusion monsters from the archetype. If you haven't yet subscribed, then please consider doing that. Everyone gained is a huge win for the channel. Maybe consider leaving a like and check out my other social media as well. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you in the next one.
Oh no!